Hello and welcome to today's grand incident, sports games, a genre that needs no real introduction. When it comes to types of sports games, I'd say there's two groups most people would be familiar with. There's the more realistic ones, often branded with the logo of one of the worst companies in America, and the more over-the-top ones, the kind that Mario and friends often get themselves into. Now, which category would a Touhou sports game fall under? Do you really even need to ask? The better question is, what sport would they be playing? Well, it's a Japan favorite, and it's one that Mario and co. have had a pretty wild time with themselves. Or you can just look at the footage. It speaks for itself. That's what I wanted to talk about today. A Touhou sports game that also happens to be one of my all-time favorite Touhou fan games ever made. The game, known as Touhou Soccer, Moushuuden. The game was released on December 31st, 2006 by Dojin Circle Hachimitsu Kuma-san. And as the name implies, it's a soccer game featuring various Touhou characters from Touhou 2 to Touhou 9. Now first things first, Touhou Soccer Moushuuden is an expansion on the Touhou Soccer that adds stuff. What stuff? I'm not sure. I don't know anything about the original release, or where you'd even get it. I only know about this expanded version, so I don't know how much of what I'm going to say will apply to the original version. But I don't think that really matters. Anyways, there's quite a lot of options in the main menu. And I'm going to start with the most obvious choice, the story mode. The story begins with Reimu and Marissa talking to the Scarlet Devil Mansion's name-troubled gatekeeper. Suddenly, Maribel shows up, as she's looking for her missing friend. Maribel is holding a soccer ball, or maybe it's a yin-yang orb, whatever. Some guy pops out of nowhere and tells the girls that they must become a super shooting player. There are soccer stadiums all over Gensokyo now, and the various residents have decided to participate. Quite a wild start, but trust me, it gets better. Now the gameplay. The short answer is, it plays very much like the Captain Tsubasa games on NES and SNES. If you don't know what that means, let me explain as best I can. Each match starts with a prep menu with various options. The main is assembling your team, choosing formation, etc. You'll get more characters as the story progresses. Now the actual gameplay. The goal is to score on the goal. Yeah, obviously. There's actually very little the player has control of in the grand scheme of things. But while the player team has the ball, they can move around the field however they want. This is also true when the opponent has the ball. The player will have control of whatever number is flashing, and can change who they control at any time. Pretty much everything else in the game is dictated by menus, decision making, and of course, good ol' RNG. The character with the ball can shoot, pass, 1-2, or dribble. Characters after the ball can intercept, tackle, shoot down Maku, or do nothing. Some actions have a better chance to stop others, so there's a bit of a rock, paper, scissors element to it. But winning this RPS doesn't guarantee success. All characters have their own strengths, and all actions require guts. Standard actions don't take much, so it's mostly for the named characters. Now, if there was anything you'd probably already know about this game before even playing it, it's that there's a lot of special shots that have absolutely insane visuals. Characters can have special shots, tackles, passes, etc. Some also have combo moves that they can only do if certain other characters are on the team. Characters also have special power-ups that affect different things, and are activated in various ways. These can only happen once per game, and on average last 10 in-game minutes. Some moves have to be unlocked by getting into certain scenarios during a match, which isn't terribly difficult for most of them, but any move that requires the AI to set up is just suffering. That brings us to the goalies. Goalkeepers have their own options they can choose from when defending, and of course most of them have special saves. These also have cinematics. You might get sick of seeing some of them since they're not all created equal. The main thing to note about goalkeepers really, is that punching the ball is more likely to work, however a successful catch will let them pass the ball to any player on the field uncontested. So why did I segue to goalies from an AI setup? Well, there's at least two moves in the game that are unlocked by having the AI receive a high pass close enough to the goalie that they are prompted to action. Just this scenario alone will grant the move, but well, this doesn't happen at all while playing through the story. The real kicker is the move gained from this is designed specifically for this situation, so it's exceptionally useless for how difficult it is to get. I honestly can't tell if that's a good thing or not. Last thing I want to mention is that characters also have special tactics they can perform. These cost guts, and, well, don't tell you what they do at all. I didn't know these were a thing until the end of the game, but even if I did, I still have no idea what they do. That's about it for the gameplay. There's a lot more depth to it than what I mentioned, and I feel like what I did say was already too much. The story itself is fairly straightforward. It's broken up into different cups, with every 5th match being like a boss fight. Losing will put you back to the first match of the cup, but you keep all your EXP. Oh yeah, forgot to mention, characters level up through various actions in the game. No idea what gives what, but I'm pretty sure shooting is the best method to leveling up. As far as story mode is concerned, leveling up only gives stats. If you don't mind redoing everything prior, the extra stats will help. But there's always the option of just reloading the save to try again. Why would you want that extra EXP in the first place? Well, buckle up. Here comes spoiler talk. Ready? Here we go. Later teams get more difficult, obviously. There's more players in the game using special moves, and their levels are better than yours. This swings a lot of exchanges out of your favor, but it's not impossible to win. However, the final match of story mode is quite ridiculous. The opponent team features some of the strongest characters in the game, with the second best goalkeeper defending. From what I could tell, only 3 shots in the game have a chance at scoring against Yukari's combo save without unbalancing her, and one of those was a crapshoot most of the time. Yukari's power-up condition is also dropping 2 goals, which effectively turns her into a full-on shutout machine for the next 15 minutes. If that wasn't bad enough, in the second half, their main threat hits the field. An absolutely jacked Rinosuke, with a special shot that I'm pretty sure is impossible to block unless you get lucky with a goalpost. I should mention that when you score, he often gets the ball to start. And well, there's nothing stopping him from shooting again. I didn't mention it, but the AI does not use guts for anything, so he can, and will, spam the ever-living hell out of the shot. If that wasn't bad enough, Rinosuke's power-up gives him enough speed to run the entire length of the field in about 4 steps, on top of the stat buffs. Players get 1 movement action in the course of the game resuming, which means he can be directly in your face to take the ball and then shoot again. Actual red card behavior. So yeah, this match is ridiculously absurd. Even without Rinosuke, there's plenty of other effective shooters on the team you have to get around, with only 2 of your players having a real shot at Yukari. Enduring multiple repeat matches for some EXP helps, but it doesn't really fix the core problem. In short, this match is hilarious to watch, but quickly becomes a massive pain in the ass for anyone seriously trying to complete it. Well, if you do win, congratulations. There's still plenty more soccer to play through, so let's jump right into the next mode. Next, we have sub-scenarios. These are one-off stories of varying length that take place after the events of the main story, so there's nothing stopping you from playing them from the start. These offer the chance to play with characters unavailable to you in story mode, but the main draw to these is the opportunity to unlock new moves to be used in the game. I'm pretty sure these moves also stay unlocked for story mode AI, which might make some matches harder than usual, but I'm not sure. So what exactly is the point of unlocking moves for characters you can't even use? Well, that brings us to the next mode, Travel Mode. Travel Mode lets you build your dream team to take on a total of 25 matches. Yeah, it's long. The mode starts with the player selecting a team captain, then 2 other members. Similar to story mode, each section is split into 5 matches, and losing brings you back to the first match of the 5. Travel Mode's main gimmick is the shop option. Here you can spend money earned throughout the mode on more players and items. The better the item or player, the more expensive they are, though you'll be given some freebies throughout the game after a certain number of matches. Money is earned similarly to EXP, I think. And for whatever reason, having Tay on your team increases the amount you earn. You can bet that means I took her at the start. I should also note that you start with more money for each sub-scenario completed, and completing sub-scenarios unlocks characters to use for travel mode. I should also note that some characters have level restrictions on their specials, which is honestly pretty reasonable. Travel mode offers a lot of replayability, compared to the other modes at least, with potential for different characters and items on each run. There's also multiple paths that can be taken during it. Let me explain. During every 5th match, you're given an optional condition to fulfill, and you'll be taken into a different set of matches depending on if you succeed or fail them. I'm fairly certain the paths caused by failing the condition are on the easier side, since odds are you failed the condition due to something on your team lacking. All paths will lead you to the same final match, and man oh man, what a match it is. Buckle up, it's spoiler time again. I didn't really talk about the story of travel mode, but a recurring character here is from Seiho. She gets better every match, and is at max power here. But honestly, she is nothing compared to the real threat. Rinosuke returns, only now he's accompanied by his master, who is basically another Rinosuke with better stats. He also has a combo shot with Rinosuke that both of them can use. This shot is even stronger than the one he was hitting you with in story mode. You know, that shot that might as well have been a guaranteed goal every time he used it? Oh yeah, that's still not the worst part, if you can believe it. As for this match, the undisputed best goalie in the game takes the field. SGGK Letty. Her special save will stop literally every shot you try, so the only way to attempt scoring is to get directly in her face where she can't use it. Much like story mode, the rest of the team is quite strong, but they are mostly overshadowed by the big three here. This finale is as funny as it is frustrating, and is likely to destroy anyone's desire to replay travel mode. A shame, given how enjoyable the rest of it is, but with this always being the last match, it's just not worth the ride. So yeah, that's travel mode, a cool mode with multiple paths and team building options that can change up the game with each play. No strings attached here. There is actually one more mode though, All-Star mode. This mode lets you pit travel mode teams against each other, and while it says it's 2-player compatible, I've never done it. I've used this mode to do tournaments with AI-controlled teams. It's a lot of fun, though there are a few things to note about this mode. Number 1 is that the player 2 side does not recover guts properly, and that every match is determined right at the matchup, meaning if you run the same teams in the same positions and same timer, the match will always go the same way. Kinda weird, but not impossible to work around. This mode is definitely wonky, but a lot of fun. Just having the AI go at it while you watch is a welcome refresher from the stress of the game. Although with how the AI tends to pick its options, you might just start feeling the stress of a regular sports fan. Touhou Soccer is an incredible game, in many ways. It features a wide cast of characters, with many of them packing special abilities that can really change up how you play the game, both offensively and defensively. Putting the 3 main game modes together, there's over 50 unique matches to play. And if All-Star mode appeals to you outside of just AI versus AI, there's even more matches to be played. I mentioned at the start how close this plays to the old Captain Tsubasa games. Well, some of the specials, as well as some of the music, are based on those from those games. You don't need to play these games to enjoy Touhou Soccer, but I imagine playing Spot the Reference would be enjoyable in its own way. On the topic of those specials, I can confidently say my favorite part of this game is the character shots, with mixes of the characters' themes that fit the style of the OST to a T. I can honestly say that I never wanted to skip a shot animation throughout my entire playthrough of the game, and a lot of my fun came from obtaining and seeing all these different shots. A part of that fun is the new shots are often tied to a small conversation between the involved parties. That brings me to the writing. I never really talked about it specifically, but the dialogue in this game is great. The stories are written like a shonen series, and the expressions certainly match. Characters have plenty of flavor text for moves, and while some don't extend too far out of a single trope, the majority of the dialogue really adds to the overall experience. In case you couldn't tell, I really like this game, so I have a lot of good things to say about it, but I'm not going to pretend it's flawless. The biggest, most obvious issue this game suffers from is that it tells you so little about how any of it really works. First, the stats. Most of them make sense, but there are a few like technique and reactions that seemingly never come up. I'm pretty sure these stats are tied to criticals. Speaking of those, I mentioned earlier how every named character has a power-up state they can enter during a match. The cause and effect of these depends on the character. While it is safe to assume the effect mostly just improves their stats, good luck figuring out the cause. Here's something with an unclear effect though, the tactics option. Characters come with these, and if they're on the team, you can use them. Who allows what? Who knows? What do they do? Good question. Finally, there's the character's special moves. Much like the power-ups, it's often safe to assume these pad the stats they're tied to, but the shots are a bit more involved. The main thing I want to bring up about this is with shot decay. Shot decay is simple. The shot gets weaker the farther it has to travel. Special shots vary wildly, with some having no decay at all. And of course, nothing in the game tells you any of this. You can kinda tell for some of the shots based on how the AI uses them, but even then, it's not an exact thing. That was once again a lot. And you know, despite calling it a big issue, I do believe you can enjoy the game mostly unaware of how everything within it truly works. The only real disadvantage is not knowing what shots have bad or no decay can make you take unnecessary risks. Now there's a chance everything I just complained about was available in the manual, but well, that doesn't really matter. Point is, nowhere in the game itself does this information seem to exist. Aside from this, there's not much else to say. Sure, the replay system is broken, but it doesn't matter. Okay, yeah, there's the matter of some of the matches in the game being pretty terrible, but most of that is subjective. Then if you skip the spoiler sections, let's just say ignorance is bliss. Touhou Soccer sometimes feels like it's held together by glue and string, but it's easily one of the most exciting Touhou fan games I've ever played. My main complaint with the game can be fixed with some extra research, but even so, it's entirely possible to enjoy it without doing any of that. All the positives far outweigh it. The game just has so much character, from its writing to its special shots. Even if you don't believe you'd be willing to take a full dive into every mode, I still think it's worth checking out for a while, just to see the special shots in action. Regarding the circle, Hachimitsu Kuma-san, they are still active to this day, though nowadays they go by the name Hachikuma. The group has made many games over the years, and you may be familiar with another one of their big Touhou fan games, Touhou Maiden. Currently, the group is assisting their sister circle, Strawberry Boss, with porting. If you're unfamiliar with that group by name, then maybe you've heard of their big Touhou fan games, The Genius of Sapphirous and Devil of Decline. At the time of this recording, a PC port of Genius of Sapphirous V is being worked on. I hear it's a pretty phenomenal game, but I definitely need an English version to properly enjoy it. Well, that was an unexpected rabbit hole I fell into, and believe it or not, I'm not even done with this part yet. So the art and special shot animations were made by another circle, Moushuuden, and much like Hachikuma, they're also still active. The group mainly focuses on their original work, Shiki no Kyoken, but they have released their own Touhou fan game known as Shady Trial, a game I strongly desire to play as soon as it comes to English. Moushuuden's work on Touhou Soccer made me a fan of their animation style, and I would like to check out their original work as a result. It's just a shame I cannot read Japanese. It's pretty much the same story for every game I mentioned here, although from what I've heard about Maiden, GOS, and DoD, calling them a time sink would be an understatement. With all that said, time for the rating. Touhou Soccer Moushuuden is surprisingly a ranked Chirno of a game. Let me explain why. While the game is populated by Touhou characters, there's actually very little you have to know about any of them ahead of time. Character strengths are sort of related to their abilities, but you can just look at the stats to figure it out. Combination moves are one of the few things this game tends to actually inform you of, and even when it isn't explicitly clear, it does at least tell you which characters are involved. What knowing Touhou will get you here is seeing how spell cards translate into special moves, which is cool. But honestly, it's really nice that you can fully enjoy the ridiculous nature of this game without needing to know anything going into it. Would you agree or disagree? Let me know what you think. Touhou Soccer is easily one of my favorite Touhou games I've ever played. The writing is goofy and full of decade-old meme culture, and the gameplay is so over the top. It's one of those games where I enjoy watching as much as I do playing. It's a great spectator sport for sure. It's a shame All-Star mode doesn't really work properly, on top of it being a bit of a pain in the ass to make teams to use in it, but at least it's functional enough, I guess. If you're a fan of Captain Tsubasa, then you'll likely enjoy this game. If you're a fan of Touhou, then it's definitely worth checking out, even if the genre doesn't fully interest you. That's how it went for me, and look how I turned out. If you're only interested in the animations, that's fine too. But trust me, watching a compilation of shots just doesn't hit quite the same way as using them yourself to clutch a match. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you during the next incident.